Hi, welcome to Real Guitar Live. This is my monthly guitar question and answer session. I'm Tomas Michaud. You probably already knew that. Welcome, everybody. I see there's a number of people already on chat. Hey, Mark. Hey, Bauer, Tim. Great to have you here. Tony and Tom. Now, if you're watching this as a pre-recorded video, feel free to ask questions in the comment. I'm going to check every day or so and answer questions after the session. But if you're here live, please ask your questions in the chat. The way this goes is each month we do it the first Thursday of each month at 12 noon in my time, which is California. And I'm going to start out by answering the pre-submitted questions. So you can always pre-submit questions ahead of time if you want to get up there in the top of the line. Then I'm going to go and look through the chat and answer the questions in the chat. It really helps me out if you could start your question with the word question in the chat, because, I'm looking very quickly down the chat and I don't take the time to sort out which is just a comment and which is a question, and that'll stop my eyes. So I appreciate it. And then when we're done answering the questions, I'm going to do a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. And this is for members of my Real Guitar Success membership who have completed the practice sessions for the month of January, last month. Wow, it's already January 2022. So what they do is that I give them a practice session every weekday, 20 sessions, 4 weeks. And if they spend just 10 minutes on the practice session, they can call it completed. They can always put it in the favorites and come back and work on some more later if they want. But there's a way to get exposed to something new every day, have something to practice. And then at the end, I do a drawing, mostly just for fun, to make it a little bit exciting. They complete the 20 sessions, they get entered in the drawing, and they get a chance to win a card. But of course, the real prize is that you're that much better about guitar and you feel that much better about your playing. So with that said, let me start with the first questions. And I'm going to the pre-submitted question. The first one is a good one. So there's a couple parts to this. Basically, it's all about how do you write down or document an original song, not one that you can find the sheet music for. So the first part of that question would be, how do you find the key of the original song? So I've done whole lessons on finding a key, and it's not something I can answer in a sentence or two. But the idea, and it's different for different people. What works for a lot of people is to listen to the recording over and over and try to find the note, starting with I use the lowest string, the note that sounds like it's the most solid note for what's playing, that kind of fits everything that's going on. And you might find one note that sounds like it fits, but keep going up and down. And some will just sound absolutely horrible. No, that really doesn't fit. Once I get one that seems to be the best, you only find a couple that kind of fit, but one just sounds the best. It's most likely in that key. The next thing I do is then I'm playing the song and I'll play a basic scale in that key. That's as much, just one octave. I don't have to go up and down the neck. And I match it. Does that sound right? Does it sound like it fits with that song? And sometimes you have to discern whether it's minor or major. So I'll play a major key, a major scale, and then I'll play a minor scale and see which one fits better. Does it have that kind of minory sad sound? I could usually tell without major or minor just by where it's kind of a happy sound or sad sound. But I'll find one of those scales that fits best, and that's inevitably the key. That works probably 90% of the time. I created a whole lesson on this, and of course, it's something you have to practice. It's not something you just do once and wow, it's magic, you got it. Usually, some things fall into place, especially simpler songs. It works better with songs that are kind of simpler in structure. What I mean by that is some songs can actually change keys in the middle of a song, and it's not that simple. You play a scale and it fits in one part and not in another. But for the most part, most popular songs are on the simpler side. They're usually a handful of chords at the most. A lot of them are just 3-4 chords, and they really outline the key very well. So it works really well with those kind of songs. I'll put a link in the show notes to this, and it'll give you a link to that whole session so that you can get more details on how to practice that and what some of the other criteria is. If it's not original music, of course, you can also add to that, looking at find the sheet music and look at the key signature and things like that. But original music, that's not going to work. How do you find the melody? Well, that's quite a question. I don't know, like a off the wall tip on how to find melody other than to practice listening to songs and picking out the melody. What works for me as a guitar player is I'll listen to songs and pick out the melody on my guitar. I'll listen to it, try to hear it in my head, and then pick it out. And I'll do that. I've done that over and over and over for years and years and years, to where now when I can hear a song, I can pretty well get to and pick it out. At first, I had to fumble with it for quite a while. Some are more complex than others. Simple melodies are going to be easier than really complex melodies, especially if they change keys. Practice it. If you want to have this skill, it's a skill. You practice it and practice it that way. Just try to pick out the notes and see if you can pick out the notes of the song. Now, you might be better with your voice. I'm not that great with picking out melodies with my voice. I can do it sometimes, but I can do it better with my guitar. A lot of people are better with their voice. So that's an option too. Trying to sing, da, da, find the melody with your voice. Obviously, especially if you're a singer, but even those who are not necessarily guitar players or singers, you might find it easier with your voice at first. I do go back and forth. I'll try and pick out the melody with my voice and then try to match it on the guitar and vice versa. I'll try it on the guitar, and if I can't quite get it, I'll try the voice. But my default is the guitar. How do you figure out the chords? So that was a good order, because I'll often try to get the basic melody first, and I don't have to get it perfect, and then try to find the chords that fit. First thing to do is find the key of the song, because then you got an idea kind of what chords you're choosing from. You want to narrow it down. And you listen to the song and see if you can tell if there's a lot of chords or a few chords. Try to, in your hearing, listen and see if you can discern how many chords you're dealing with. And then try out chords in that key and see which ones fit. That's the easiest way to get started. Again, it is a skill. It's something you're going to be terrible at first, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. I can listen to a song now, and if it's a simple song and I'm in the key, I can pretty much hear what chords are going to be used and get it almost the first time around. That took me years and years to get to that place. So it's not something you're going to, quick. Here's the tip. You got it. Now you can figure out the chords. It's a skill. You practice it. I would start with simpler songs for both the melody and chords. Go for simpler, easy songs, especially if they're kind of songs, folk songs or something recognizable, and work your way up to more complex songs. Don't start with a complex song and say, oh, I can't do this. You're shooting yourself in the foot. And I say that because I've done that to myself. Start with something way over my head and then say, oh, I can't do this. I might as well just give up. No, like anything else, you start from easy and you build up little by little. How to write this all down so you can remember it. Basically, how can you create the sheet music? Well, the first thing to do, of course, is to figure out what the melody and chords is, and then to learn how to write it down in a way that works for you. When I first started, I would pretty much just find the chords. I couldn't write down the melody, and I would find the chords on my guitar and then just write them down on a piece of paper in order. And it's not the whole picture, but they help me remember the chord changes. Then my next step was to start writing down how long I'm going to play that chord for. So, in sheet music, you see a bar, but I wasn't that sophisticated. I would just write down little slashes for each beat. So if I was playing the G 4 beats, I would start by just playing the G ///. That meant 4 times. G, 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 and then the C 4 times. 2, 3, 4. And I'd write that as C ///. 3 slashes because the C gets 1. So that is a fairly common terminology for people are used to, is what I'm trying to say. So it's not just making up something that nobody ever saw before. The next step, of course, after that is to try to write down the melody. There's 2 ways you can do that. Traditionally, I'll say, is you learn how to write actual notation. That takes a while, and it's probably not something you're going to start off doing. You have to learn the notes and how to hold them. You usually start by reading music and then learning to write down some of the things on your guitar. You start simple. You have 2 issues, what the note is and how long to hold the note. So rhythm, so to speak, how long to hold the notes. And that's a process. You can also write it down in tablature. What you're doing there is just writing down the number of where you play it on your guitar on the tablature lines. There's 6 lines, and they mimic the 6 strings of the guitar. It doesn't tell you how long to hold the note, so you still have to know by ear how the melody should sound. The tablature doesn't actually say hold it for this long like notation does. You'll often see when you see music notation that has tablature, they'll have both. So if you can even just read the basic notes, you can look up there and say, oh yeah, that's going to be a longer note and that's a shorter note. But when you're writing it down, you're at the mercy of what you can do. You may come up with your own notation too. I remember at first, I didn't write tablature. I would just write down sometimes the number of the finger to use in the string. So I would write 6th string and then a little 3. That meant 6th string, 3rd fret. Not finger, I said finger. I would just have to remember what finger to use. And that would tell me what string and what fret. And I would write that out. And it worked for simple stuff. Obviously, complex stuff, that gets really cumbersome. All these things, one of the things to understand is that they are a skill. You want to start small and build up. If it's something you really want to do, it's worth it. If you're looking for a quick fix, you're probably better off finding somebody who can do it and either asking them to do it as a favor or paying them. You can go on Fiverr. That's a common website to hire people. And I've done this, so I'm talking from experience. And I'll say, here's my song, record it, send it to them. How much you going to charge? They usually give you a rate. If not right away, they'll say this range, and they'll give you an exact rate for how long the song is. And then they'll write it down for you. It's very practical. And you can do both. You can be learning how to write the music while you have people do that and compare the two. How if you wrote it down and how they wrote it down, what it looks like. And there's levels of sophistication. Fiverr is one of those websites. The other one is Upwork. Upwork is a little more complex because you're usually hiring somebody for a longer period of time or for a more complex project. Fiverr is usually very simple projects. And that's a rough distinction. They're both useful. It's very practical. And if you really want to have a written song of original and you want it now, that's probably the best way to go. Next question. If I want to learn music theory on my own, what book would you recommend? This is by Shulamit. Great question. First, let me start by saying I have yet to find the book that I could really endorse for music theory. I started out studying music theory in college, and I really liked it at first, but as time went on, the years in this case, I realized I'm not making as much music as we are just talking about it and kind of intellectualizing it. So I got a little discouraged with music theory. Of course, what happened was I graduated and then kind of integrated some things I knew, and it really did help me. It just seemed like a long way around the block. I say that to say I'm not exactly going to recommend the college route and study theory for years. I think there are some good books out there, but for a guitar player, and that's what I'm talking about here, I look for books that not only can apply it to guitar, but in a kind of a practical way in what guitar players do. Just esoteric type theoretical stuff doesn't turn me on. I mean, I get some people really like that intellectual pursuit, but I want my students to be able to use it in their playing in some form or fashion. Not necessarily right away, oh, I know this theory so I can play this, but to support their playing and to make sense in the context of what they're doing. So with that said, I have found some books, and I looked ahead. Since she gave me the question ahead of time, I could pull out my books and see what I got. The first one is called Guitar Theory for Dummies. And I will include these in the show notes because I know everybody won't remember this. Guitar Theory for Dummies. I like the way it's written. There's a lot of little tips and easy to follow, so to speak. It's by Desi, Serna. And he's fairly well known for teaching guitar theory. He's a guitar player. I would say there's a lot of stuff in there. And if you just went from beginning to end, it would be hard to see how all of it was applicable, especially, and this is a little bit of a problem with a lot of the guitar books, if you're playing acoustic style folk guitar, it seems like most of the guitar theory books are oriented more towards electric guitar and playing scales and how they improvise and things that are more rock, maybe jazz oriented, as opposed to acoustic folk style acoustic guitar playing. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it there. So the next one is by Desi Serna, also called Fretboard Theory, a little more complex and a little more oriented towards rock jazz fusion, but more stuff, more stuff than the Guitar Theory for Dummies. But they're both extensive books. I mean, if you're just starting with Guitar Theory, I would start with Guitar Theory for Dummies of those two. Now, he also has a website, which I thought was cool. It's called guitarmusictheory.com, and he has kind of supporting stuff for the books. They really work well with the books, but he even has a lot of stuff on that website, even without having the book. The next one is called The Practical Guitar to Modern Music Theory for Guitarists. The Practical Guitar to Modern Music Theory. I wonder if I got that book right. The title sounds funny. The Practical Book to Modern Music Theory for Guitar. I'll get it right before I put it in the show notes, because the sentence doesn't quite make sense yet. I haven't spent much time with this book. It looks interesting, but I can't honestly speak to how the progression of the theory lessons are. The next one is the Music Theory. It's a Hal Leonard guitar method book. They just call it Music Theory. Hal Leonard's a popular series of books in general, but they make a whole series of guitar playing, note reading, in this case, a theory book. It's by Tom Kolb. And I like this book. It's easier. It's less stuff than the books I mentioned so far. They narrowed it down, and it's good, kind of a general beginner type theory book, applicable directly to playing guitar. If you wanted something to kind of get started that wasn't too overwhelming, that's probably the one I'd recommend of all the ones I've talked about so far, or I'm going to talk about after, actually. The other book that I have that I've used off and on over years is called The Practical Theory Complete by Sandy Felstein. And it's not specific to guitar, but it's a good basic overview of music theory, what notes mean, how they read, how they relate to each other, how harmony works, how intervals work, all those kinds of things. I like it because it's easy to understand and follow, not specific to guitar, kind of more along the lines of how to read music. And then I want to mention, I took a course outside of college called Fretboard Wizard. It's by Tony Policastro. And I really liked it because he really applied it to the guitar playing and stuff that guitar players need, how to change keys, how to figure out what chords work with what kind of melodies, the basic major and minor scales and which ones are important. I thought he did a good job of kind of getting to the core of the matter. Unfortunately, it costs bucks. It's $150 for the course. One good thing about it, though, is they will answer questions. They have a forum with comments, and I don't know if Tony answers the questions, but he used to. But I think nowadays he has other guitar students answering questions. I thought that was helpful. Okay, next question. And again, I'll put the list of these books in the show notes. Tony says, I'm reasonable with chord changes, but I'm struggling to make that next step of playing songs. I have a problem with staying motivated while playing slow versions of songs. I can't afford lessons and need some tips on pushing through to the next level. So Tony, kind of the way I would look at that, or the advice I'd give you, is to think about, if you don't want to pay somebody for lessons, you kind of want to create your own lessons. So you need to make some judgments call, looking through what materials you have, maybe YouTube, and decide where you're at and what would be the next level. It'll take some extra work. That's kind of what a teacher does for you. They give you things in a nice orderly fashion, or if it's private lessons, they might see where you're at and say, okay, here's where you fit, and here's what you need now. So you'll need to do that for yourself. If songs is a tough way to go, because the nature of the problem is you got a lot of stuff going on in a song, and if you're still struggling with the chord change, how are you going to pay attention to where to change chords with the words and all the other things going on in a song? It's a lot. I usually have students just practice the basic chord change, starting with a few chords, and then they can do it slowly and get from one to the other, and they can do it with all the chords. Then I'll have them actually apply that to a song, start slow and keep building it up. It doesn't sound very good to play a song really slow, especially if you're having a hard time still changing chords. First thing I would tell you is, integrate some exercises on your own. Do what a teacher would do for you. Figure out some exercises that you can feel good about it. It doesn't have to be for years, say for the next week, I'm going to practice this for 10, 15 minutes, and this will get me the skills I need to play this song in a way that sounds like the song. I would keep looking for simpler songs. Many times I find students will come up and say, oh, I want to learn this song. And I look at their skills compared to the song they want to learn, and they made too big of a leaps. Just take it into account that you need to walk before you can run. Start with simpler songs. Get the hang of changing the chords and following the rhythm. Try playing it along in time with a YouTube video. I'm not saying you're going to get it the first time around, but try to keep up with the artist on the YouTube video, and then little by little graduate to more complex songs. And again, that's kind of what either a guitar system or a teacher or a combination of the two do for you. You can do it. I've done a lot of that for myself, so it's very doable. But it takes putting your attention there, not just practicing guitar, but thinking about what you need to practice to get to that next step. No magic bullets. This is, the process. And, kind of thank God, because if everybody could just say, do this, and they could play guitar, it wouldn't be very special playing guitar, right? Everybody could do it easy. Okay, next question. I'm looking for ways to get back into the practice routine. After all the family stuff, I went almost a month without touching the guitar. I feel lost and I need motivation. I've been there many times, Tim, over the years, so I can answer that. And I'll say there's no one right way for every person. One of the things that has really worked for me is to just set a minimum amount of time and say, I'm going to do this. As a matter of fact, more than once, I have pulled out a calendar, marked off 30 days. I actually print up a calendar, so it's a blank, 30 days, and then cross off each day that I do my 10 minutes. So I'm committing to myself to just do my 10 minutes. It's not because I feel like it, because I've committed to. It's a different animal that way. I have learned, at least myself, if I just do things when I feel like it, I'm not going to do anything very well, and certainly nothing over a long period of time, because I eventually stop feeling like it. Now, ironically, the thing is, if I make a choice to do something and I pick a small enough, I'm not going to say, I'm going to practice for an hour every day. I know that's I'm going to lose. And then I'm going to feel bad about it. And I'm not even going to want to look at my guitar. No, that's why I say 10 minutes. Get something that's really doable. You can squeeze in there and just play the guitar for 10 minutes at first. Then start looking for things that you really need to work on. Check it off. Feel good about it. Now you get more confidence. You start seeing your skill building a little bit, gives you a little more motivation, and you can take it to another level. Tim's asking, also, my guitar has a buzz. Sounds like it's in the neck. I'm putting new strings on today. Hopefully that'll help, but it might show me where the problem is. Maybe I need a trip to a guitar store or to see their luthier, their guitar repairman. That's usually what I do. If my guitar is not is buzzing specifically, I take it, because I'm going to have the repairman not only get the buzz out, but take the opportunity to kind of tweak it a little bit and get it playing optimal. There's a kind of a base level setup that I can do, 30, depending where you're at, $40, maybe even 20, 25, depending on where you live, that, not too time consuming, and they can get done pretty quickly and get your guitar back. There's a more intense stuff where they have to, do more stuff, file down the frets and stuff like that. It can range up to 100, even more in this area, $150. But I think it's worth it, because you get more than just getting out the buzz. You get your guitar tweaked, and I would, probably do that once a year, just to keep your guitar playing, making your practice time as fun as possible, basically. There are things you can do. I would watch some YouTube videos on guitar repairs and go easy, because you can kind of make a mess of your guitar. But I'll tell you one way to get the strings stop buzzing, get the strings a little higher. And the way I've done that is in this, this is called the saddle, and the bridge, this little white part. Oh, let's do it. Yeah, you can see my guitar now. The bridge right here. Get my hand out of the way now. There, the bridge right there. This is the saddle, this white part. The bridge is the whole thing. The saddle I'll take it out, take the strings off, and put a little teeny bit of a toothpick under there, just a little bit, because I don't want it any higher than it has to be. And then I put the saddle back, and I usually make it longer because I don't want it wobbling like that. And that'll raise the action just a little bit, enough to play it. That's what I used to do. Now I'd go to the guitar repairman. What they would do is, if the saddle had to be higher, they'd actually put a new saddle in. And if it's too high, they'll keep sanding it down until it's the right height. I'd rather have the right saddle personally, but that it has worked. I'll tell you, a little toothpick has gotten rid of a buzz. But sometimes it's more complex, meaning that it has to do with the angle of the neck and even this angle. So now I'll raise the string up a little bit, but it'll still buzz and it's just harder to play. So at that point, I kind of wasted my time. Got to put all the new strings back on, and I'm kind of back where I started. And next question, when I play chords, sometimes I move my fingers off the strings like a pull off. So I'm guessing, I haven't seen this, but I'm guessing if it plays a chord, something like that, maybe probably more. I'm probably exaggerating. He says, is this a bad habit, a lazy habit I'm getting into, or is it just I just need more practice on the chords? I would say it's not a good idea. It's probably not a habit to develop. I don't know if it's a habit you got yet. Habit is something when you do something over and over enough times, it just does it without you trying. It might be just lack of skill, not a habit yet, but I'd try and stray away from it. You don't want to make it into a habit if it's not a habit yet. And it is going to sound funny when you're changing chords if you do that. It's going to slow you down too, quite frankly. So it's I'm guessing it's a subtle motion from going up to the next chord, because you don't want to go like that to just sliding across like that. I'm talking, maybe that much of a distance. Not a big thing. Maybe something to pay attention to. Don't worry about too much. Be my guess at this point. Okay, so those are the pre-submitted questions. I'm going to go to the questions in the chat. Feel free to add more questions. I'm going to hang out here until I get through them all. Hello, Thomas. 2 questions. What is the correct order for a beginner to learn rhythm guitar? Start there. Hey, Mark. This is a question from Mark. First of all, it depends. It depends on the style of rhythm that you want to play. If you're going for jazz or folk or hard rock, I would do something a little different. But there is a base level that kind of applies to everybody. And it's probably a good place to start, regardless of style. And that's just learning your basic chords and being able to change. The biggest problem I see is people learn their basic chords and they sort of like see how many chords they can use instead of actually getting them well enough to change smoothly. I would opt for less chords, changing smoothly, at least slow. Not perfectly, but I've seen enough people to know most people need to spend more time on changing the chords properly before they move on and add more chords. Learn the chords in the keys that are most useful for guitar. That is the keys of C, G, D, E, and A. And when I say the keys, start with one key. I'd probably start with the key of either G or A because it's common and it's easier. A, D is pretty easy too. Now learn those 3 chords that are the most common chords in this key. Let's take the key of D, for instance, and I'll show you. Key of D, the most common chords in the key of D are the D, A, and G. What I did is I picked the 1, 4, 5. D is the 1 chord. Count up 4. D, E, F, G is the 4 chord. And A, 1 more up, is the 5 chord. So a lot of songs use just those 4 chords. And that's why I picked those. And you're going to get the most bang for your buck by learning to switch between those chords because you're going to use them a lot. And they work together, of course. You practice, you use them, you get better at it. Then you can start adding more things. And then I'd learn, a few other common keys. I think I'd start with D, A, and G because they're very common. The key of C is common, but it uses the F chord, and that's sort of the next level up. be able to switch between those chords, at least with a metronome at a slow tempo, without pausing, without making weird sounds, then start applying them to songs. Or if you're going to play rhythm guitar in a rock band or something, at least the chord charts for that type of song. Now, for lead guitar, again, same thing applies. Depends on what kind of lead. Do you want to play blues? Do you want to play rock? Do you want to play bluegrass? In general, I would learn a scale that applies. Well, first of all, I do some basic exercises with my left hand, and I'll show you. The most basic is I call the finger developer. It's just in rhythm, play one fret at a time and get the sound of the note right. And that's the key, not just to go through the motion. Get the sound right, not this. No, get the sound, go as slow as you need to, get it right, and do that every day to get your fingers going in the right places. This is going to apply to everything you play, chords and lead, but especially to lead, single line stuff. Then learn a scale that's most common to the style of music you want to learn. I won't go through all the styles, but if you want to play blues, it's probably the best scale to start off with is an A minor pentatonic scale. And I would say it probably applies to rock, because a lot of rock is based on blues patterns. And you'll get your most bang for your buck. That I wouldn't stop there, but I'd start there and then start practicing that scale over the simple chord changes. I used to just record them on a tape recorder. Remember tape recorders? Now on digitally, and make a rhythm and then practice my melodies using that scale over it and try to keep refining it, making it sound better and better. And at the same time, I would start learning. I'd listen to albums and try to copy little phrases that I heard other people playing and try to integrate that in the same key, of course. I'd start with A minor for rock or blues. For bluegrass, I think I might start with a major pentatonic scale. Probably, I'm not a strong bluegrass player. Either G or C, I would say. I started with G. I don't know if that was the best one to start with, because a lot of bluegrass is more of this majory sound. And again, the other styles, jazz, I'm not really sure. But I would say, if you don't know what style you want to play, start with probably A minor pentatonic and kind of start off with that and feed off of that. In other words, keep stretching it and add some more scales. Next question. Let me see. Question. I see one. Question. A song like Born in the USA is only 2 chords. I know them and can switch okay. How do you get the strumming right? Wow, that's a great question. Good job, R. Burns. Good job on picking a 2-chord song. I got to check that out. That might be a good song for me to do for my students. And it's nice to find 2-chord songs that people know that can help them practice changing from the 2 chords. So you said you can change between the 2 chords, fine. You didn't say if you could do it in rhythm. In other words, up to the tempo of the song. So that would be the first thing I would do. In other words, play along with the song and just strum straight down. Don't worry about a strum. Just try to get the chords right with the song. I don't know from your question if you're there yet, but I've seen lots of people fall down there. Look, I can change between these 2 chords. Yeah, as soon as I start a rhythm that's anywhere near the rhythm that they're going to need it, no, they fumble as soon as they go to the next chord. Then the strum, and again, I don't know where you are with strumming. You need to learn how to strum. I don't know. Do you know basic strums? If you don't, that's where to start. Start with it down. Just try it with the song. See if it fits. I don't know. I'd have to pull up the song and try it out myself. So I'm going to stop there. I don't really know. That's what I would do is try to learn a few simple strums and then match them to the song and see which ones fit. And if none, in this case, you probably a straight down strum at least fit. And then you could see if you can up it by doing some down up strums. As you get a repertoire of different strums, you have more to work with to match the songs. So at the same time you're doing that, try learning more strums and adding to your repertoire. Again, get it up to where you can do the strum and change chords in time. Okay, let's see. Any more questions? Hey, from Ontario, Canada. Hey, Tim. Fretboard Logic. I think Bauer is saying he likes the book Fretboard Logic. Vivek, welcome. Says he started learning on my channel 9 years ago. Question, any tips for bar chords? So this is a question I get often, and it's because bar chords are hard. Let me go to my acoustic guitar. The main thing I could say as a tip for bar chords, and I think many people could use this reminder, is I see over and over and over, I've seen over and over and over, because I used to teach privately and I managed as the director of my music school, I would see students say, yeah, I can play bar chords. And they're trying to play a song with a bar chord that they haven't really practiced yet. And they're fumbling for the bar chord. And they never really spent time to actually learn how to play the bar chord. They just tried to learn it every time they get to it in a song. It's not enough to practice for most people. I mean, there are exceptionally gifted people. Just ignore them. Most of us need to actually work on bar chords, and I would work on them in stages. In other words, don't start off with the F bar chord in the middle of a song. That's F is usually the first one that you need because it's in the key of C and that's common. Start off practicing just an exercise to get the bar across the neck, and do that a little every day. Also, practice the other part of the bar chord. A common one is the E form. So I made the E chord without my first finger, my second, third, and fourth finger, because when I make a major bar chord, that's what it is. It's the bar plus that. And I practice this. So I have a course called Bar Chords for Everyone. And what we do is exercises particularly using different parts of bar chords. Right? That's not a bar chord. But when you get used to moving that part around and you practice this and put them together, it's not that hard. By the way, it is easier to play bar chords up in here than that F chord here because the strings are not so stiff right here, right? You got more moving. Right here, it's right next to the nut. So you'll find in the beginning it's easier to play bar chords up in here, and this one will be a little bit harder. So you work up step by step. I hope that helps. I will put a link to some more tips on learning bar chords and even some exercises in the show notes. And let's see, any more questions for today? Mark says, thank you. You're very welcome. And there's a comment here. It's helpful to play along with backing tracks on YouTube. And YouTube does have a lot of backing tracks nowadays. I make some and put them on YouTube, but I find a lot of backing tracks for popular songs on YouTube. And you could try playing along with that to work on your rhythm. And Tomas says, welcome to you and your viewers from Scotland. How nice. Okay, so that's all the questions I got for right now. I'm going to do the drawing. Feel free to add question. I'll check one more time before I leave for today. We'll do the drawing. And again, for those who came in late, this is a drawing for members of Real Guitar Success who have completed the 20 practice sessions for the month. They'll go through one session each weekday, just spend 10 minutes and either mark it off or add it to your favorites. And either way, when you get through the 20 sessions, you get entered into a drawing. And for today, the winner is it is Wally. Congratulations, Wally. You did it. And congratulations to all of you who completed the 20 sessions. You're that much better at playing guitar, and good job for following through on that. Any more questions? Let's check. Yeah, the F bar chord. I'm not the only one that has that says the F bar chord is a tough one. Oh, and Mark's asking what happened to Ami. She got a little busy between her 1-year-old baby and her job, which is actually working for me in my music school. We made some transitions, and she is so busy right now. She'll be back I'm going to guess probably a month from now. She's going through some rough time getting preschool and everything for her kid. But all said and done, she'd love to be here. I know. I just talked to her yesterday about this, and she's looking forward to coming back. Thanks for asking, Mark. With that, I'm going to say goodbye for now, but not forever. I'll be back next month. I hope you will too. First Thursday of every month. And I will send, if you're on my email list, I'll send you a reminder and a link too, so you can get there really easily. And I will make show notes here. Again, if you're watching this pre-recorded, and a lot of people will, they'll watch this after the show, you can add questions in the comments on YouTube and I will get to them. It usually takes me a day or two to get to them, but I'll get to it. In any case, I look forward to seeing you again, and thanks for hanging out with me today. Bye for now.